I'm here today with Jennifer Regular, who is a conscious leadership guide and founder of Lighting the Path, where she helps healers, coaches, and change makers move from hustle and burnout into harmony-based leadership. Her work supports leaders whose soul has outgrown old roles or identities, guiding them to lead with clarity, sustainability, and authentic impact. Jennifer blends grounded leadership insight with spiritual wisdom, helping people stop carrying everyone and start lighting the path for collective transformation. This is so resonant. I can't even believe it. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I am grateful I'm here. There are points in my life where I wondered why or if I really wanted to be here, but now I'm really glad that I stuck around. So thank you. Thank you for
We're
hosting me today,
we're
Tracy.
all glad. We're all glad, and it's your bio is so resonant with just exactly what I've been working on recently, working
Oh,
on for myself, and also working on in my writing about
yeah.
um, this piece of the leadership journey about like carrying other people,
Yeah,
carrying, excuse me, carrying responsibility for other people, and
right.
how easy it is for leaders to slip into that zone.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of healers, helpers, helping professionals, the ones that are feel called to serve a higher purpose, do fall into that trap. I've fallen into that trap, many, many times. And some of us will hide our gifts or not put our true self out there because, fear of persecution or just not wanting to have that burden of responsibility. And so when we realize that we're actually leaders and taking on that sacred responsibility for stewarding what we came here to do and who we came here to become, then we're better able to carry out our true purpose. And our purpose changes a lot over time. We're here for many different purposes. But when I talk about purpose, I'm really talking about your passion, your soul's calling. And the passion is not just an energy, like, oh, I'm doing what I love to do. That's what helps sustain us and helps keep our vibes up. But truly, when you break up the word passion, it's pass I on. And that I
Oh,
is your
oh, I love
soul's
that.
expression.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
I
I
mean, how
love
easy it
that.
is right in front of us the whole time.
Passion is pass I on. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And that
Boom.
what do you think it is? It's your soul's expression of what you're here to pass on. It's your potency. So yes, we bring all of our wisdom and experiences from this lifetime and other lifetimes and all the chapters of our life, our abilities, and we build our capacity through what we've endured, but it's really our potency that has the greatest impact. And so when your soul starts to outgrow your role, then that's when we experience the stagnation, the burnout, and the misalignments. And the burnout's not failure. It's not like reduced capacity. It's not limiting in any way. It's just recognizing that we're not fulfilling our potential. We're being dragged down. Our lights are dim, from when we're in our families. We're just trying to keep the peace. We're trying to be compliant to systems that want us to dim our power and fit into a different kind of mold of how we work with people. I know that's true for me. Like I was a helping professional for over 20 years before I got into the healing arts and then the sacred leadership journey. I was helping many people that were in distress, that were experiencing trauma, that were experiencing the way that society can determine our destiny if we let it, through addictions and domestic violence and homelessness and federal offenders, just people who walk the crooked path because they were basically contained in a system that wanted us to stay small and stay compliant. And even moving into the healing arts and then the leadership journey, I still see very similar patterns happening, where people are held back because they're feeling like they have that burden of carrying others rather than empowering them and really lighting the path of collective transformation. And so just being able to hold the light and hold yourself in that light as well. So it's really also very much an inward journey of coming back home to yourself and being in harmony with who you are. And that's what radiates and has the greatest impact, and is actually much more sustainable in that way when
Yeah,
we come
yeah,
into alignment with that.
you can't pass eye on if you're busy like draining me out, right? Like
Yeah,
there's there's um there's nothing to pass on if you like leave it all on the field, so to speak. You can't continue as a leader
that's right.
with that um leave it on the field, leave it all on the field kind of mentality. Like you can't be constantly draining yourself to the bottom and building back up and draining to the bottom and building back up. Like it's not sustainable on the long term.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting because we do things backwards. We've been conditioned to think that we need to have all these credentials or have the house or the perfect family of whatever that looks like. I mean, that takes so many different shapes and forms these days. But growing up, in our generation, it was a little bit more structured in how like being perfect and checking all those boxes would work and having all those things. Then we get to do what we're meant to do, maybe in retirement, or having to have those credentials before we can share our gifts with the world, even though we've had them inside all along. And then we get to be amazing, the person, the perfect wife, or the perfect leader, or the perfect CEO, or whatever those success metrics once looked like. We're still in that survival mode if we're operating in that kind of conditioning. And so that's where you see the similar patterns of being contained in this societal system rather than, really stepping into what you came here to be and what you came here to do. So there's looking at that, who you've been, where are you now, and who are you becoming? And how do you guide and bring forth others in your becoming, in that sacred leadership? And when we go back to the etymology of leader, it's lidere, which means exactly that, to guide and bring forth. And that's why the light leaders are the new wave of leaders. They're the ones that aren't surviving the world, they're the ones who are actually shaping it now.
Yeah, you brought up an interesting point because I think that leaders are not generally people who identify with being in survival mode. They don't recognize for themselves where they are in survival mode. And that's I feel it so strongly. That's the place where you work. I know it, that
Mhm.
you help people to find those places where as a leader, they are still moving from a kind of survival space.
Yeah.
Although, even if you're leading others, it's not like you feel like you're a desperate victim or something.
No.
When you're a leader, you feel comfortable with a certain amount of power
Hmm.
in order to be able to lead other people. And yet, you know, being that everybody's a human being, right? There's a space where your leadership is limiting itself, or your shadow is limiting your leadership capacity in ways that you can't see where you're attached
Yeah.
to survival. Where do you see it showing up? I don't know if that's a legitimate question, but
Yeah, it kind of is. It's a friction that's created and this internal pressure that you have to meet certain standards. Now, let's say what I see in super successful people by anyone's standards, right, are still struggling in that survival mode because now they're afraid that they can't keep it, that they can't sustain it.
there you go.
And all this effort comes in of having to chase the dream still, right? To be able to keep the dream, not just chase the dream. Now we
Well,
got to keep it, right?
the bar keeps raising.
The bar keeps raising, yeah. And so there's this friction that's created, and it's destabilizing, and we keep looking for the external validation. I keep getting these flashbacks to one of my favorite childhood movies and most influential is The Wizard of Oz. You remember that movie? Did
Of
you see it? You
course.
know what I'm
Of
talking
course,
about?
of course. Thousands of times.
Yes, right. And so you know what I'm talking about when Dorothy's going along the path, the golden path, and she's finding her way and she meets her allies along the way, and they're all missing something that they too want to go on the path and the journey to find. And then what happens at the end, right? She had the power all along. in
Yep.
those ruby slippers, and, the red, the ruby slippers, the groundedness in our actual reality, who we truly are, and being able to live and lead from that space, from authentic to truth. And that's the authentic authority that I mentioned there. So when we harmonize back into alignment with our true values and who we truly are and what that I is that we're here to pass on, our potency, and it's something that's actually effortless, because and it's something we often overlook then and take for granted, because it's something that feels so easy, so common sense to us, that we don't realize that it actually isn't.
This is so core
Mm.
to everything that I do um,
Ah.
in my work. I mean, this
Yeah.
is now we're talking about um, your actual genius in the
Mm-hmm.
true sense of the word, not being a little Einstein, but the thing that you came in to share, to pass on,
Mm-hmm.
is something so ridiculously easy for you that you can't believe it has any value.
Right.
And that's where, as exactly as you said, it's completely overlooked. You can't see it. Most of the people that I talk to would say, "What? Like, can't be that.
Yeah.
Like, that's that's
Yeah.
too easy. It feels like cheating. It doesn't feel
Mm-hmm.
like it was a lot of hard work to get to something that has value
There's
that
that
you would want to
conditioning,
pass
right?
off.
Unless
It's
we're
total
working really hard.
conditioning.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
total conditioning. It's that work ethic that we've all inherited on some
Yeah.
level, that it has to be hard work or it doesn't have value. And that's where I mean, I guess it's part of the human condition that other people can see it, from the
Yeah.
outside. And
Right. Because you
um
radiate that, whether you know it or not. That's what you're actually sharing with the world.
and like how easy it could be if we could just go through life, sharing what we're good at, and
Yeah.
without what we're good at, that it feels natural and easy and abundant to
And
us.
another word, Tracy, is coherent. That's how
Coherent.
we that's
Yes.
how we develop the global coherence, co-create global harmony, which seems like lofty ideals, but actually isn't. Because when we're singing to the tune of our own drum, our own heart, and operating from that place, then there's this coherence that happens. It's not so chaotic, it's in flow. It's in what a lot of us aim for on the spiritual journey, and that's an interesting juxtaposition too, is are we humans on the spiritual journey, or are we spiritual beings on this having a human experience? What do you put first? And so that is also going to affect how you journey through life.
Absolutely. And um that's something that um people who are meditators or who have some kind of practice are putting in front of themselves again and again every day, because
Yeah.
it's almost impossible to stay in that perspective that you're a spiritual being having a human journey.
Right.
That's what you strive to remember.
And that's where we come back into alignment, instead of the, have do be, or the do have be. We are beings that can do and have. We work from that place of being who we are first, our core identity as a spiritual being, and then having the sustainable impact through that, because we continue to stay in alignment. There are going to be things that destabilize us and pull us out of alignment, and we keep coming back to ourselves. And that's where the self-care, the soul care really comes from, is tending to our soul's needs, keeping our vibration at a level that is sustainable, so that we can continue to attract what's in our highest good. And that's how we begin to integrate a higher consciousness model of living. This is how we're lighting the path of collective transformation. I wrote a whole chapter about this, actually, in as a co-author of The Ultimate Guide to Leaving Your Legacy. I talked a lot about leading with passion, that you're here to pass on. And that's what lights the path, the profound impact, and supports collective transformation. It's not so much about our individual striving anymore. It's about how can we come together now, collaborate. You hear a lot about collaborate over competition now, because the paradigm is shifting. into a better way to live, all together on this earth. Almost 8 billion people on this earth. How do we all get along, right? Not all of us will. But as more and more of us come into alignment with our peace, then we do start to create more harmony in the world and less chaos. All the things that don't serve us just naturally fall away.
I love that. Um, I was just I wrote a note here a moment ago because you talked about, being the perfect worker, the perfect boss, having the perfect
Mhm.
family, and um, it just occurred to me because some of the work that I've done in the past, and I continue to be active in my stepmom group, working with women who are stepmothers, how much we are imprinted with this idea of perfection, at least even in the family structure, like
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever done any family constellation work. It's an incredibly interesting field, but really we're patterned. Like we have these constellation
Hmm.
patterns in us. It's not even external conditioning. It's like inherited um, architecture
That's right.
of
Yes.
what a family is supposed to look like in terms
Hmm.
of um, relationships. And, even kids who have never known an intact, like two-parent household
Hmm.
fantasize about wanting that or having that or feeling shameful somehow that they don't have it or looking at other people's families and feeling that they are more correct or more valuable than the one that you have. And man, these things run deep. These perfection ideals, they run
Hmm.
so deep. And that's what I guess we can call it conditioning, but
Hmm.
we're conditioned on such a deep level from, ancestral stuff, from DNA, from literally things that we pick up around us, from, epigenetic
Yes.
experiences or whatever. I'm curious, have you been into human design? Did we talk about this before?
I'm into human design in that I've worked with human design on my own journey,
Right.
for me personally in my personal and leadership
Okay.
development. Yeah. And I work with it like so my own profiles and that, but I don't do human
I
design for
understand.
others. Yeah. Yeah. So I
No, I
understand.
just wanted to
Yeah.
know if I could like talk in that
Oh, absolutely.
language.
You sure
Um,
can. Yeah.
because like I don't know, it was all kind of a mystery for me as I was learning about it and as
Hmm.
I've started to incorporate it into my work because I have these Bach flower blends for human design
Hmm.
that I
Great. Ah,
created without
cool.
really like I'm no expert in human design, but I learned what I needed to know in order to be able to
Yes.
make that connection and make that um concordance. But um the idea of following your design, like this is
Hmm.
exactly what you've been talking about when you say like come home to yourself,
Yeah, and your
back to
origin
yourself.
frequency as well. We
Yeah.
talk about family constellations. There's also very much a cosmic blueprint that we also
Yeah.
operate from,
Yeah.
And yeah, for those of us who are visionaries and change makers and healers and helpers, that very much comes into play, our origin frequency, right? And maybe our starseed ancestral celestial backgrounds as well all comes into play. And it's interesting that you mentioned about the deep seated patterning, because that's something that I very much bring into the work where it's appropriate too, is integrated energy therapy, because there is everything that we've ever experienced in this lifetime and others are imprinted on our cellular memory. And so integrated energy therapy helps us to bring all of who we've been and who we're becoming and integrate that, into a higher consciousness way of living. And so we release those imprints so we're not attracting continuously those same kind of experiences that keep us small. And that's where we get to break some of those generational trauma patterns, and then raise our vibration to make living here more palatable and what we're here to bring in as well, and be able to anchor that in. And then also the shamanic journey work that I do, because a lot of our energy and our soul parts get fragmented throughout the lifetimes. And so we want to be able to retrieve those parts of ourselves. We want to be able to remember that, and we want to restore our power. So those are the three main things that I often bring in, is that power animal retrieval or soul retrieval, or that soul remembrance work, the deep soul work that comes into it as well. So not just trying to blame the family or the patterns or anything like that. I know what we're talking about here is bringing awareness to where we're operating from, and go to the real source of our gifts and our problems and our issues, and knowing that we have the power to restore harmony and alignment. Because when we start working on ourselves and start begin that healing process, we're also healing generations across, forward and backwards and through all space and time. That's your time and space alchemy right there,
Yeah,
right?
that's
This is being limitless.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
how it happens. That's how it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was learning more about this, like what does it mean to have a design? The example that really kind of smacked me in the face anyway about being a manifesting generator, because that's my type,
Mm-hmm.
is that manifesting generators are constantly changing from one passion to another. You know,
Yeah.
you have something that you're building that you love, that you're enthusiastic about, and then like it's like this cosmic snap of a finger, and you see some other, you know, bunny that you have to chase down another trail because it's just so interesting.
Uh-huh.
And I'm constantly sort of laughing at myself or, poking at myself about changing horses so often. Except
Mm.
I learned that this is a basic characteristic of being a
Yeah.
manifesting generator.
Being
And it was like,
multi-gen. Yeah, multi-passionate.
oh, wait a minute. This is a thing. It's not just me. This is a thing. This is a kind of architecture, and
Yeah.
I'm born with that design. That
Yeah.
is my design. That's what
Mm-hmm.
I'm supposed to do.
Right.
I'm not supposed to fit myself into a box like the other people I see who stay focused on one thing for a
Mm.
long time.
Mm-hmm. I
That's
don't know how
not
they
going to
do it.
be my that's not going to be my path to success,
Yeah.
whatever that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And that was so impactful for me
Mm.
to say, okay, I get it. That's what it means to be in my design. It's like some part of me that I could never have named before I
Yeah.
heard that. I
Uh-huh.
always just was a bit embarrassed that I
Right.
had so many. I mean, look, I have three podcasts up right now on completely different topics,
Oh,
and
okay.
all of which none of those three things have to do with homeopathy that I practiced professionally for 30 years, or classical music where I was, a professional symphony musician for 25 years.
Wow. Wow.
Like, I've done a lot of different things.
Yeah, yeah.
And, on some level it's kind of interesting, but there was this like shred of shame about like changing horses all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And when I understood that this is how I'm meant to operate, like
Yeah.
it's a design and I'm one of those. It's a manifesting generator thing. And I came into the world in that
Yeah.
container.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly it was like, oh shit, like that's what it means. Like that's my design. That's what I'm supposed to do. And so whenever the next thing comes along where I'm going to just drop everything that I've been doing and run off after the new thing, it's because that's what's supposed to happen. It's because it's because everything I've done until now brought me to this portal. And now I get
Mm-hmm.
to step through that next doorway, and I wouldn't have gotten there
Yay.
except for
Yeah.
all these other things.
There's so many parts of us that are waiting to be expressed, and things that become activated as we go along through life. That activation happens, the remembrance, of our origin or design or whatever way you want to think about that. And then something comes into alignment, and then we activate that, and then we go through the ascension process. We keep on evolving our soul, right? And who we're meant to be continuously on to the next thing, because this is what we're doing as shaping the future, not just surviving it, right? Going back to that for a moment. And yeah, it's so much fun when you get to name it and then embrace it, and then follow your heart, follow your soul and where it's taking you.
Absolutely. And it, I don't know, that's probably the hardest thing for people to do. there's always some crumb of something about
Hmm.
you that you
Yeah.
think, if that were different, I would be more successful. Or
Those are the
if I didn't,
distortions.
yes, exactly.
Yes,
If I
those
didn't
are
have
the
to deal with
distortions.
this,
Hmm.
I'd be fine.
Yeah, that's where things start getting fuzzy, right? They're not quite clear anymore. They're not quite coherent. And that's where we engage in the things that we love to do because it brings those vibrations back and refines or fine tunes our frequency. And there is a through line, there is a common thread through all of that. The through line, as the manifesting generators you described, that's your through line, right? That's what is consistent, is that patterning, that design, and how you operate and how you respond to yourself and the world's and your soul's needs. And also being able to devote yourself to what you're most about.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
To
Um,
really take a stand for what you stand for.
to stand for something and take a
Yeah.
stand for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I don't know, that brings us to like let's say um, the current societal conditioning about staying small, which is getting distracted by drama and chaos.
Hmm.
Um, that's there's no more effective way of keeping people small than
Hmm.
drawing them into a lot of drama and chaos. And
Yeah.
it's so incumbent on those of us who are change makers and
Yeah.
leaders
Yeah.
to find a way to sort of stay, I don't know, I want to say clean, and that's not really the right word, but
It kind of is actually.
it's
Yeah. Want to
to
strengthen the
not,
field of light.
you
Hmm.
want to strengthen the field and not get drawn into um the sort of war in the ant colony or whatever we want to call it, but
Hmm.
there's like really low energies that are
Yes.
loud.
Dragging us
They're
down. Yeah.
loud right now, and
Hmm.
the way they drag us down is through our attention. Attention is currency in
Yes.
on a spiritual sense. And
Yeah.
um, as leaders and change makers and guides, we really have to. Um, I don't know. Sometimes it's a struggle, but more just about remembering to
Hmm.
um, not allow your power to get sucked away by
Hmm.
being drawn into the conflict that we're all being invited to participate in right now.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know. It's just I'm so happy to know that somebody like you is
Hmm.
out in the world doing this kind of work and helping the people who want so sincerely to be leaders and change makers and who just need that, someone to walk beside them and see from the outside of them what they
Hmm.
can't see from the inside of themselves,
Hmm.
where the little, I don't know, the shifts or the modulations can happen to make that path go easier.
Yeah. Yeah. And likewise, the work that you've brought into the world through earbach essences, and especially for highly sensitive people and for empaths, right? It's out in our field, it's out in our body, and we usually have very large auras, and we tend to contract those. And it's not so much having to expand, it's just noticing what is expansive already and tending to that. That's stewardship, that's sacred leadership, and I use that term interchangeably, but having those essences really support our field and helps us strengthen it, and being able to heal through it and integrate everything that's going on, knowing that the chaos and the trauma doesn't define us, being aware of it, knowing that that is part of our experience. But like you say, it's how much attention and energy are we going to give? Are we going to ride that current? Or are we going to ride a different current? We get to choose. Same thing with, a radio station. If people listen to the radio, what channel are you going to listen to? What's the most clear, coherent channel that you want to tune into, and what kind of frequency is that? Because that's, the radio waves are frequencies as well. And so those frequencies are all around us, and we get to fine tune and find our station, our channel, our portal that's going to help us move through in the direction that we want to go. It's actually one of the reasons, one of the inspirations for the Sacred Leaders Compass that I created, this
Mm.
guide that I offer freely for people to understand what kind of lived experience they want to have, what kind of things might have been dimming their light or getting in the way, and then really guides some of those next steps in the direction that best supports their highest purpose, their highest path. And so I can offer that to your audience too. If you
Yes,
want, I
I
can
was
give you
just
a
about
link
to
for that.
say, where do we go to
Yeah.
get that?
Yeah, I can offer that for sure. I'll give you the link. You can put
Oh,
that.
wonderful. I'll put that
Yeah.
in the show notes for sure.
Sure. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, you're just a fountain of
Oh,
positive energy
thank
and
you.
um yeah, I capacity. I just feel a lot of capacity in you.
Oh,
So thank
thank
you
you.
for being here. This was a lovely conversation.
Oh,
And tell
yeah.
people quickly the best place to find you.
The website's kind of the portal to all the other links I have. I'm on YouTube a lot. I have a podcast there and some other videos as well at Awaken and Ascend on YouTube. Also, LinkedIn is my main
Oh,
social
okay.
channel if you want to find me there. So the website's lightingthepath.ca. And there's an inspired living blog on there and some other things that may be of interest. And of course, the links to find me elsewhere.
Awesome. Well, thank you very, very much.